Hello and welcome to 5 Minutes in the Shed. First of all, a science update. Right then, as you may remember from previous video updates, I've been working on the petrol tank trying to get all the rust out of the inside of the petrol tank using various chemicals like white spirit, gunk, Coca-Cola, all kinds of stuff. And the latest experimentation was been with Tesco's finest white vinegar. Now, we did a bit of an experiment in this pot here with some white vinegar and baking soda. So that's been standing there all week now. So if I pour some of this vinegar away, like that, and then let's get a bit of paper towel, see what we've got inside. Obviously it's all kind of covered in baking soda that didn't dissolve in the vinegar, but that's fine. So let's see where we are. Need another piece of towel, hang on a second. Okay, so let's have a look at these washers and stuff, see how they've come out. Actually, a brush would be better for this one. A brush would be better, really, wouldn't it? Than a bit of paper towel. Anyway. Okay. Let's see how this has come up. Give it a little wipe over. Now these were all proper rusty when I started, and let's have a little look now. I mean, they're dull, they're not shiny. That's one. It is another good one, I guess. Give that little brush off. Let's have a look at that now. Oh, someone's phoning me in the middle of my science. Hang on. Before we were rudely interrupted, I was doing some science, right? So this is what they've come out of the soda and vinegar solution like. So I don't know if I can bring these a bit closer so you can see. Let's see if I can get those in focus. So you know they're okay. They're oh no, focus. That's it. So the rust's all gone, which is good, but it's like a dull finish. Dull finish. Yeah, there we go. Not bad at all. I don't mind, because this is really testing for inside the fuel tank. I don't mind a dull finish in the fuel tank. That's fine. And what these haven't had is a load of screws being shaken past them. So that's pretty successful, right? So let's have a look in the fuel tank, see what's going on in there, because this has been full of vinegar for a long time now. So let's just clean the top. Ah, look at that now. So if you remember before, we couldn't see that, it was disgusting. So that's pretty much rust free now. I mean, you can see the writing on the inside of it, which is pretty good. And I've noticed as well now, when I'm shaking the tank, the air hole, the vapor hole, is spilling all kinds of stuff out of the tank. So it's cleaned that up. That's pretty good. So inside the tank, yeah, the mouth of the tank, that's all nice and clean, whereas before that was red rusty, horrible. So inside the tank, what's that like? Let's move the camera, put the torch on, and I'll show you inside. Brace yourself, we're moving. Okay, light on. So you can see there's a little few traces of rust left, but I mean that's nothing compared to what it was. That's actually really good. I don't know if we can see in the bottom. Well, you probably just see screws and horrible vinegar. See down here. Yeah, so actually it's pretty clean in there now. I mean, nothing that a fuel filter and gauze on a petrol tap won't trap anyway. Looks pretty good indeed. So So we're at that stage. It looks pretty good. Now, pretty good's okay, right? But what we'd really like is absolutely fantastic, right? So we haven't put any baking soda inside that tank yet. Oh, I'll turn the light off, hang on a minute. Because otherwise my battery will go flat and it'll be the end of the world. Turn that off. Right. Okay, so my plan is, there's a load of vinegar in here that's been reacting with the rust, but it hasn't had any soda in there, right? No baking soda. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tank outside, I'm going to fill my blasting gun up, and I'm going to oh, some came out there. Ooh, there you go. All reacting already. I'm going to get my soda blasting gun, I'm going to stick it in there, and I'm going to fire under super high pressure a load of bicarbonate soda crystals in there. The crystals, when they hit things, will explode, right? And that's how soda blasting works, right? The granule hits something, explodes, and that energy knocks off the dirt or whatever it is on the material. So I'll blast the inside of the tank. The soda crystal dust will settle into the vinegar, and there'll be a super violent explosive reaction. That's my plan, right? So what we need is a load of baking soda, which I've got. What I don't want to do is get baking soda everywhere, so I'll hold that like that. So the top's at the top. You can see that on the telly, can't you? Yeah. Alright, so here's my baking soda. This isn't going to pour very well. Let's see if it will go without going everywhere. I'm not sure how much to use. I think I'll use about half a gun's worth. Because, you know, best thing with science is when you get something super violent, isn't it? Let's get that in there. Well, that's about half a gun, I reckon. Okay. Right, so gun's ready to go. Is that open or closed? Oh, I don't know which one's which now. Don't know. Soon find out. I think that's closed. Right. Okay. Let's take it outside. Okay. First things first. We're going to test that the gun's working. So I've got air. Now I need soda. So I'll open that a little bit. Just give it a shake first. There you go. Open this a bit and then. Right, so you can see soda's working. Now to get the petrol tank. Right then, so we've got the petrol tank still full of white wine, white vinegar, Tesco's finest, whatever. Now I'm going to blast it. This could be a super violent reaction. in for a closer look. Okay, so as you can see, the soda's kind of done its job a little bit, and let's get in there, clean that up a little bit. There's still a couple of flakes of rust left on, but if you look in the bottom now, you can see the reaction happening, and big chunks of rust floating around in the moisture. And you can see there's all dust now in the tank. So I think what we're going to do is give it a good shake. So I'll put the top on and give it a good shake and see where we are. Okay, so giving it a good shake, and actually I wish I'd have left the camera on, because when I was shaking it, it was fine, you know, leaking a little bit of vinegar, but it was fine. And then when I took the top off, it went poof, yeah, real kind of violent pop, and I missed it typically. So anyway, I just wiped it all clean. Now let's have a look inside the tank now with the light on. So this is where we are now, which looks, I mean, that's pretty good really. I'm sure most people's cars on the road are worse than that inside their petrol tanks at the moment. So yeah, the outside's all pretty good. If you look in the bottom, it is still kind of reacting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that for probably another week in the shed while I'm working on the bike, and we'll come back to it and see how good it is then. Fantastic. Right, now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, enough of the science teacher rubbish. We came here to watch you build a motorbike, and we want to know what you've done on the motorbike so far. So I will tell you. Right, so I'm going to bring you in for a closer look. Okay, so if you remember last time, I was making some head steady brackets. So I actually finished those when you weren't looking, because it's all the boring stuff like polishing and filing and things like that. So got a new head steady bracket on there, all polished up, all nicely contoured around both sides, which is lovely. So that's all done. You may notice the one on the other side is sitting a little bit short there, and you're thinking, oh Mark, you ran out of material, you made it too short, didn't you? Yeah, kind of. But the reason I've left it short is there's two lugs here, one there and one there. Now I think my ignition coil is going to mount on this, and the other side of it is going to be the horn. So I need to bolt a piece of material between these two bits with some bracketry for that. So that material is going to sandwich in between these, so therefore that one needs a gap. So no problem at all. So what else were we doing on it? We were doing exhaust bracket. Let's come down. Yeah, so we need a bracket which goes between this hole, and this hole, and then there's quite a distance between these. So I'm not going to make a really sharp angle bracket just in that small space. I'll stack it with a spacer or a big nut or something. I mean, you can't really see that anyway when you're away from the bike layer. You can't really see that, so it's not too much of an issue. So I made a CAD template, which is a cardboard aided design template, and I've marked up a piece of aluminium of reasonable thickness. So I need to make that bracket. Okay, so the bracket for the exhaust is made now, and it's kind of in place there. So what we went from was, this beautiful thing here, which is a work of art, and now we've gone to this. Right, now as you can see, the holes are all offset because nothing quite lines up. right? But you know, it's just a bit of metal to hold exhaust. It's fine. But what I have found is this lovely stainless steel standoff bracket, which is great. So, you know, an M8 bolt goes in that side, and then on this side you've got an M10 with a nice nylock nut, so that's going to hold that on there and space them away from the frame. It's going to be lovely, right? So that's ready. Although I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hang on a minute, that's not a polished finish. That's like a satin finish you've got on that bit of aluminium there. What on earth are you doing? Are you getting lazy? Well, in all fairness, I haven't polished it because, one, I hate polishing, and two, when this is at this angle here and the exhaust pipes run across there, you're not really going to be able to get to it to polish it anyway, so it's kind of pointless. So as long as it looks alright, it's alright. We've got the head brackets, got the exhaust brackets. I think I'm going to drop the exhausts on now and bottom on the bracket, check they're okay, and then we'll see where we go from there. Okay, so exhaust pipes are on, which is great. Looks really good. It's nice to have them solid as well, so I can see where they go and everything. Next job, I need to get some oil in the engine. Right, so as you know, this is the oil tank around here, and this is the oil pump here, and I need the feed and return going around, circulating around the engine. So I've got to go from the feed pipe, gravity feed, which is here, at the end of the down tube. That's got to go around, it's got to go to the feed side of the pump. And there's two pipes there. Front is feed, rear, return. That's how you remember it. I did have to double check on the website. But, you know. So pipe work wise, I've got plenty of pipe, all metric unfortunately. So I've got this 8mm pipe, which is at about 7mm. 7.5mm, which fits perfectly on these imperial connectors, which are about 8mm, if that makes sense. I've also got some 8mm pipe, which is too big as well. So anyway, this 8mm pipe isn't 8mm, it's 7mm-ish. So I'm going to be using a bit of this, and we've got to go from under here, and then we've got to bring that round somehow under the engine, in a frame it wasn't designed for, and then put that kind of on there, and then we need to go from the return, and the return needs to pump the oil, or scavenge return should I say, needs to pump the oil back up to the return in the tank, which is there, but we also need to tee into that for the feed for the rockers, which comes from the return, that feeds into there, and that goes in the top of the engine, dribbles down to the bottom of the engine, gets returned back the same way. So I need another pipe that goes from there to come to here to a T-piece, which is here. Here's my T, and that's got to go around. So, and the rocker feed is a smaller pipe as well, even though it's an equal T. So I've got to force it on one side, and it's going to be a little bit baggy the other. Be all right. So we'll do that, and then we'll think about putting some oil in it. Fantastic. Right then, so we've got the oil pipe up to the return up here. I've got a piece of smaller pipe here going onto the rocker feed with a T on the end of it. I've got the two pipes coming around there. I haven't put a Jubilee clip on that one, well, pipe clip on that one yet because, well, I didn't put one on, so I need to cut the pipe first before I slide one down. So yeah, just need to make that cut the side, put the T in, which is here, which is there. Now, I haven't done it yet, right, because I wasn't sure where the carburettor was going to go. So I've got this old monoblock carburettor, so I've put that on there just to get a feel for it. That's not the one for this bike. The one for this bike is actually at my dad's house, looking fantastic because my dad's done it up for me. Right, so that's got to go in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to loop it above the air intake here and just sneak it around the back of it there. But what I don't want to do is on the other side get it mixed up with the fuel lines. But I think that should be okay there. So I just need to make that connection and then I can finish that off. So yeah, so I'll do that and then I'll put the camera back on again when we get some oil in it, and I'll start kicking some oil through it and see how we get on. Okay, so I think I'm fully plumbed now, right? So I've got feed coming out of the tank into the feed side of the pump, scavenge side of the pump's coming out of there, coming up, coming to the T to oil the rockers, and coming back to the return side of the tank, which is there. So now what I need to do is get on the Kickstarter and give it loads of kickstarts, not to start the engine, but just to roll the engine round to actuate the pump, to pump the oil round to check it's all circulating properly. Now I can't do that because I haven't got my kickstart on. Right, I can put a kickstart on, right, like that, and you know, spin it through the engine like that. But it's hard work, right? So I need to take the spark plugs out to release the compression. Then I'll be able to kick it a bit easier. But I won't be able to do it with my foot because it's not springing back up. And it's not springing back up because that cover plate's not on. So I'm going to drop that cover plate on the kickstart return spring so I can do that. But if I start pumping oil around that engine, it's going to leak. And the reason it's going to leak is because this isn't put on properly. I've only put it there to make it look pretty and make myself feel nice. So I need to put this cover on properly. So I'm going to put the cover on, put that cover on, kickstart return spring, take spark plugs out, put some oil in it, and then we can give it a swing through the kickstart and we'll see if we've got some oil circulation. Right then, so before I do anything, I'm going to tighten my handlebars up before they fall off. That'd be embarrassing. All pipes are on. I put the gearbox cover on, timing cover's on. I bet you can't see it. Hang on a minute. Move it down there. There we go. So, yeah, pipes are all on, timing cover's on permanently, that's going to stay there now. Gearbox cover's on temporarily because I've got to put the clutch cable in. I put it on the time-lapse one, but actually I clocked the spring wrong and it wouldn't kickstart, but now it will. Taking the spark plugs out, so it should turn over okay now. Right. There we go. Sounds a bit rattly. What's that? Does sound a little bit rattly. I might just go around and adjust the tappets a little bit before I start kicking it too hard. So I'm going to do that just loosely. Then I'm going to put some oil in it. I've got some cheap 1040, right, which is not the oil I'm going to run this bike on, right? But I've got a couple of litres in here. I'll put it in and I'll use it to turn the engine over, get everything primed up and everything. I might even start it on this, but then I'm going to drain it out pretty much, you know, as soon as it's run a little bit anyway, just in case there's any debris in there. And then I'll put the proper oil. I'm going to run it in. That makes sense. Right, so yeah, oil in. But no, tappets first, oil in, and then I'm going to kick it and kick it and kick it and kick it until I start getting oil coming back. That's the plan. Right. Right then, so yeah, put some oil in, been kicking it. I got a proper sweat on kicking it, honestly. You have to kick it so much and so long and so hard. Anyway, got oil going through the engine. I did check, because at one point I thought we didn't, and I spilt engine oil everywhere, which is lovely. It was so much nicer working on a dry bike. So anyway, oil's going in. The little pressure indicator here on the pressure release valve is poking in and out as I kickstart it. I wonder if I can show you that. Yeah. Did you see it? I don't know. So I've got oil going round. It's coming all the way back round. It's not coming out very fast, but the engine isn't running. When I first start the engine up, I need to check that the returns pulsing quite nicely out there. So oil system's done, engine is wet. I put a splash of oil in the gearbox just because I was kickstarting it was going around. I need to do the oil properly on the gearbox. Yeah, so I can put the spark plugs back in. Spark plugs got a bit of a story actually. A friend of my wife's actually, a friend of my wife's, his dad used to race a lot of bikes in the 60s. He always had bikes and stuff, and he ended up left with a huge box of spark plugs, and he sent them me because he wasn't using them, which is brilliant because it's exactly what I needed. So there was B7ESs and these BP7ESs. Now the difference is that the electrode protrudes a little bit. It's supposed to give you a better spark, I don't know. So I've got these brand new spark plugs off a friend. You might be watching, Nick. If you're watching, thank you very much. So yeah, brand new spark plugs. I can drop them in now, so I'm going to be kicking it anymore. I am knackered. So they can go in. So next time, engine's wet. What are we going to do next time? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. So I'm getting pretty close to doing electrics, I suppose. I'm waiting. Oh no, I need to put that cover on properly. I'm waiting for a couple of studs in the post. I'm waiting for a few things in the post actually, and as soon as they arrive, I might be able to crack on a little bit more. Yeah, bodywork, I guess. Mudguard, rear mudguard, I need to paint and install. Front mudguard, I've got two decisions I need to make. I've got levers coming, I've got grips coming, I've got all sorts happening. I've got new HT wires and new plug caps and stuff like that because the old one's rubbish. So they're coming. I've got a new drive chain on order because as we know the chain was wrong. As soon as the chain's here, we can put the chain guard on, and then the mud guard. So that's kind of hinging on that. What else? Yeah, I mean we're getting pretty close to electrics and fire up, I guess. So yeah, I'll have a think about what we're doing. I'll have a think about what we're doing, and next time we'll do some more. Oh, and obviously we'll check to see how the petrol tank's doing. Right, thanks.